So, hello, it's Sherry again, and you're looking at this week's little project. I was not able to post last week's project because my computer is holding the video captive. So this week, in the name of my silly computer, I'm going to try and make this quite short to make sure that it will give me my video back. So, what we've got is a number of these lovely little aluminum buckets, and we're going to decorate them and use them for whatever you see fit. It would make a great brush or pen holder. It could also be a holder of lovely little things that you find when you're out and about. I am a terrible pack rat and I love to collect things, so I think I'm going to fill mine with things that I find on my walks, like pine cones and spruce cones and my favorite rocks and feathers and things. Truly, I have them lying all over my house, so now I'll have a home for them. And here is what I have to offer for you. So we decided that it would be fun to put a little paint on the inside, so even when it's empty, you have something cheerful to look at, and some paint on the outside. On mine, I painted some flowers. I did some gluing of some natural materials. I did some gluing of some dollar store items. And I think you've still got some natural feathers there. I find these feathers in my neighborhood. This one is obviously a magpie. And I don't know why, but I cannot walk by a feather without bringing it home. And I have shared some of them with you. If you want to, some other people in the group painted all of their little bucket so that it was a whole new color, and glued many pieces of these magical little leaves and flowers and all sorts of things into the bucket. So, ta-da, you just go for it, man. And so, I also am a bit of a planner. You may not be much of a planner, you just want to get on with it. But in the name of showing you the process that we used, I'm going to use my significant planning skills and show you what we did. So, basically, I took a piece of paper to begin with, and I just traced my little bucket so that I could plan out how I was going to decorate it. Now, clearly, if you're going to just do a lot of gluing and a lot of free-form ideas, then you do not need to do this stage. Let's just hold on, bring you back to... But wait, there's more. Hey, look, it's me. There you go, just proof that there's a living person here. So, once again, here's the bucket. You can have anything on it you like. And let's just look at the materials I've provided. There's spruce cones, lots of spruce trees near me. There's pine cones. I invite you to notice the beauty, the natural geometry of the double swirls that grow as the pine cone takes shape on the tree. So cool. I also have these things. These are larch tree branches. There was a large tree nearby that had really half the tree kind of died, and I took advantage of that by taking these beautiful little rosette cones off. And so you can use this in your bucket or take it apart and use parts of it for your bucket. I noticed that if you look at the tip, the way it grows, now to stick this whole little cone on the outside of my bucket, certainly could do that, but I think it's going to catch on something and fall off. But I noticed that if you cut the very end of it with a pair of good scissors, the end of it kind of looks like a beautiful little rose. I'm going to take this one. See, look, the end of it looks like a beautiful little rose. So I did that. I cut that off with a pair of scissors, and I used it as part of my collage. Et voila, c'est une rose. Okay. Then later I'm going to show you, I didn't give you guys rocks because I figured you would want to go and find your own. I found a rock in my garden and did some painting on it. And, oh yeah, there's some sage. It's nearing the end of its season, so it's not as beautifully scented as it normally is, but it's, yeah, I've got so much of it in my garden. I leave most of the flowering ones in there to reseed and have some of the non-flowering ones as well. So you'll also want to dive into the paint bucket. So many good colors. There's turquoise and pink and purple, blue, yellow, white, green. Beautiful, beautiful things. And what did we, oh, you'll also want to heat up the glue gun. Get the glue gun going. And let's go back to my planning thing here, because I'll show you the genesis of my, really, Mrs. Reed. There goes. Yep. So this is how I started with mine. Some people started right away and knew they wanted to glue things. Hey, there goes a great thing. Now, if you want to glue these flowers, they're awesome. Look how it's got this stem thing on the back, like when you pull it off the vine. This will get in the way of your gluing. And if you just cut that off, you kind of make the whole flower fall apart, because that's part of what allows this thing to stay together. So I recommend before you cut that off or before you glue it on, take some hot glue or regular glue and just open up some of these little layers, squirt a little bit of hot glue in there and hold it together. Each one of the layers, give it one good squirt of glue so that you can cut this little stem off, and then this will glue flush to the outside of your bucket. Okay, so here comes my planning. Again, don't plan if you don't like to, but basically I only had one little bucket to play with. I gave all the rest of them to the Kerby. And I can't show you how I started from scratch because I don't have another bucket to work with. So I'm just going to work with my drawing. I'm using one of the plastic lids as a paint palette. And I've got some turquoise and purple, white, yellow. I'm going to, ooh, that's pretty. I have some metallic colors that you have as well. Ooh, I've got some purple. My purple looks different, but it's very nice. And some hot pink, because, I don't know, I just lost my mind. Hot pink. So, let's see. I started by thinking of, oh, you know what? Actually, this is my mistake. I learned from my mistake. I did an edge on my bucket right away, and then I fought with that silly edge for the rest of the time I was painting it, because it had funny little bloops of color on it, and every time I picked it up, I smeared bloops of color everywhere. So I take it back. I'm not doing the edging first. I would do anything I want to glue, I would do it immediately, because the glue will not stick to the paint. What if the paint is still wet and you try and glue to the wet paint, it just falls right off. So you want to glue directly to either very, very, very dry paint or directly onto the little silver bucket. So I would glue, let's see, hey, you could use these things as a keepsake, or you could take the pine cones and take them apart. If you now I'm not doing this, see, look at the difference in the shape of the pine cones, she said optimistically. There we go. The pine cones have a long, ooh, ping, a longer, thinner portion. Pine cones have a longer, thinner portion, that is hard to come apart. Okay. I guess maybe they need to be riper, drier, and sitting out in the sun longer. Maybe if they sit inside for a while with you, they'll be dry and falling aparty. So here's my goal. I thought it would be fun to take these apart and arrange them like a flower, or like a face, or just a random pattern, and then create, where's my little guy here? Here's my little guy. My little rosette from a larch. Ouch. I swear to you, the first larch just popped right in half. Really? Really? Ta-da! There we go. There's my little rosette. Okay, trying again here. So if I put my pine cone parts around in a pleasing arrangement and my rosette in the middle, I would have a natural looking little fibrous flower. Was that really worth it? I'm not sure, but it's one idea. When you take these spruce cones apart, they have an entirely different shaped seed holder. They are more octagonal, and I used them to create this center. I layered them all on top of each other and created this layer. I glued them separately and then glued the whole thing onto my flower. So, different ideas of ways that you can use this. I also noticed that someone in the group used 2 of the feathers and glued them on either side, and suddenly I thought, oh my goodness, it looks like a great horned owl. Wouldn't that be amazing? And so then I thought, well, maybe you could make a great horned owl face on your bucket. I don't know why that appealed to me, but boy, oh boy, did it ever. And I thought you could lay out the spruce pieces like the feathers around the eyes. Yippers, there we go. And after gluing them, you could paint the eyes in there. Boopity boopity boo. Boopity boopity boo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whoops. So look how you could, hold on, wait, just wait. So you could have imagine, of course, you're doing this right onto your bucket. Seriously, I don't have any more bucket left, so you're going to see the paper version of it. And then use the hot glue to glue these all around, like an owl eye, because I don't know. I thought that would be fun. And after hot gluing the owl eye, then you could paint on the beak and et voila. Now we have an owl. I feel like I'm missing something. What's missing out of my owl? I don't know. Huh, hold on. I'm just going to do a quick Google search. What do owls look like again? Oh, I see. So I'm looking at owl faces, and they need eyebrows. We need more eyebrows. Ooh, wow, look at that guy. That's pretty cool. So I am going to make this face here. Imagining, of course, that I'm doing it on my little silver pot. And I've got to make some eyebrows. Oh my goodness, I want to use this silvery metallic, or this coppery metallic stuff. Let's see. I want to make a layer of that. And a layer like that. And then I would tell myself I should have put this whole thing further down on the bucket. So, good planning. Hey, Mrs. Reed. So, ta-da. Oops. Assuming I've glued those. There you go. So there's one idea. And then at the end, because I just can't help myself, I would make my funny little edge around the bottom. And if I made my funny little edge around the bottom, again, I would do this after everything else so that I don't make a big mess. I would take one of these colors. See how I can use the end of my brush as a perfect circle maker. You have to put quite a lot of paint on it. You have to put quite a lot of paint on it and then just touch the area you want and you get a lovely little circle. Ta-da! And maybe one more little layer. How about black? Okay. There we go. So in this design, I used the glued in feathers. I used the pine cone parts. No, it wasn't, it was spruce cone parts. I used paint, and you could use, and then you've got the flip side, the undecorated side, and you could glue something more on. You could paint it another creature that also has ears. Maybe you could do a fox on the other side. Maybe you could do a little bird, a cute little bird that might get hiding from the owl. I don't know. Lots and lots of choices. So make use of all your materials. Have a great time. Oh, and then don't forget to go for a rock hunt and use these paints to paint anything you want that speaks to you. My favorite when I was a kid was to make ladybugs. They're so friendly. So I made a little ladybug. I used that shiny paint for the carapace, for the little bits that cover the wings, and I used black and white. The one thing I noticed is if you want to put color on color, you have to wait for it to be pretty dry, or the white was just dragging the wet black around. I had to wait for that black to completely dry before I could add the white, and then let that dry to add the black. And there's lots of ideas for this online. If you want to see all sorts of different ways of painting rocks, there's all sorts of great ideas. Or I just like letting the rock shape talk to me, and then it tells me what it wants to be painted. I've also noticed that if you really want to share your rock, in our neighborhood, since people have been sort of locked down with COVID, a lot of people don't get out much except to go for a walk. So people have been painting rocks and leaving them around the neighborhood just to make people smile. So if you decide to do that, that means your rock's going to be outside for a while. Don't put really thick paint on. It tends to totally freeze and fall off your rock. It's better to use thin layers of paint. A couple of thin layers of paint than a big blobby thick layer, or it's just going to peel right off. So there's some ideas for you today. Have a good time. I'm going to put my little bug out in the neighborhood, let it have a life with whoever walks by. So great to see you. Take care. Bye. Really, Mrs. Reed? Seriously? Ah, there you go.